Hey everyone, in this example, we are going to be using a method known as long division of polynomials. Prior to long division of polynomials, you may have explored something along the lines of this right here on the right. So the examples I have written are simplify the rational expression or the following expression, something along those lines. Rational means it can be written as a ratio or a fraction, as it is right over here. Fractions, horizontal division, it's all division. It's all the same thing. You just might have to use context clues to figure out which technique or strategy is going to be best. If we were to do this the way we practiced in class, you would probably start by factoring everything completely. We've gone over 5 factoring methods so far, and if I tried any of the methods that we know, such as greatest common factor, grouping, sum or difference of two cubes, difference of squares, and AC method with grouping, the best looking method is probably going to be grouping, but you would see that if you tried the grouping method that you would not get common factors in each of the groups, and then you're stuck. So we can't really do a problem like this one in that style. We won't be able to factor and cross out that m-7 like we're looking to do. So that's why we have something like long division, because that's sort of foolproof and it works every time. It is the tried, true, trusted method of division. So it's going to look just like long division did in elementary school. I have other videos where I get more into that whole derivation, so I will attach those in a playlist underneath the video, and it'll also be included on the same playlist. I'll probably try to put the ones that are more explainy towards the beginning, and each video I'll try to have a thumbnail pop up going to the next example. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some vocab quickly, but this is our numerator and denominator. The numerator can also be considered our dividend. That's this part right over here, dividend, and our denominator could be known as our divisor. Horizontally written, vertically written, or like a fraction, but I'm going to set it up as long division. So that means my divisor, m-7, will go on the outside of the long division symbol. My long division symbol does not have a little hook on it. It is not the same as a square root symbol. They are different, or a radical symbol. And inside, if we are missing any terms counting down from my largest exponent, my largest power in the problem, so my leading term, if I'm missing any of the terms that account for each place until I hit my constant term, I would put in what we call a placeholder. And we'll see that in a future example, and you may have seen it in recent examples. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write out m⁻⁻. I'm going to give myself a little room. Minus 6m² minus 16m plus 63, and we want to make sure that your long division symbol goes all the way up to the end of that dividend. Now, to do this problem, to really get this one started, let's see how these colors show up on camera. What you want to do is you want to focus on your leading term of both your dividend and your divisor. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to divide just my leading terms. So that's going to be m⁻³ divided by m. Now sometimes your leading terms are going to have a coefficient. Sometimes your leading terms are going to have a positive or a negative, or a 3 in front or a 2 in front. You just roll with it. Sometimes your leading term out here is not going to be just m. It might be m². And if it was m² minus 7, you would need a 0m placeholder. Now when I divide these, I end up with m⁻², m². When we do these problems, you should feel your hand doing sort of a counterclockwise rotation, and that's going to remind you that you're doing the right thing. m², all right, we're going to write this, and this column method here is going to make sure that you don't lose a step or mess up anything. We're going to write that up here above the m² of the dividend. When all is said and done, you should have everything with matching powers aligned vertically, and that's sort of how you know you're doing a nice job. Next thing, so we went from here to there, we're going to multiply that m² by both the m and the -7. essentially you're distributing it to both of those terms there. What will that give me? M squared times m is m to the third. M squared times negative 7 is minus 7m squared. Again, your column powers should be lining up very nicely at this point. From here, we're going to do what I like to call the phrase that pays. And let's see what color I can use for this that might show up nicely. That's going to be, new pen, so a little bumpy guy, sorry. Parentheses, minus sign, underline, cancel. Cancel is when we get 0 through addition and subtraction or adding opposites together. So that does qualify, in fact, as cancel. Underneath here, minus the quantity of. That means, and I like to do this part without writing it on the paper, but in my head, and keep track of it, that means you're really doing a negative 6m squared minus negative 7m squared. Minus negative, I hope we all know, means plus. That means you are dealing with negative 6 plus 7. You're in a hole 6 feet, you climb up a 7-foot ladder, you are now 1 foot out of the hole into the positive world. So this is going to be a positive m squared. Again, my powers are all lined up vertically. Before we move on, again, we're going around in this counterclockwise motion. We're going to bring down the next term. In this case, it's negative 16m. Now, the part we're going to work with will always have the same number of terms as the thing we're dividing by. So if you're dividing by a binomial, you'll notice along the way, we're always going to be dividing, working with little binomials, okay? Now, from here, we're going to repeat what we just started, and that is we're going to take our leading term of this part and divide it by the leading term still on the outside. So we happen to have m squared. Again, this might have a coefficient in the future. It's not just always just m squared. It's purely coincidence this time. Over or divided by m, and that will equal positive. If you want to put the plus sign, I didn't do it there, but if you want to put plus signs, that might not be a bad idea. I did notice some people when they were going up here not putting a plus or a minus to connect things, and you're writing a polynomial expression as an answer, so you want to make sure you connect it with either plus or minus signs. Obviously, if it's negative, we use a minus, and when you don't see anything, that implies plus. So plus, my quotient was m, so m is going to go here. This m is now going to do what the m squared did, and we're going to multiply it by the m and the minus 7, or distribute it to that right there. M times m minus 7. We'll get m squared minus 7m. And then we're going to bust out our phrase that pays again. Parentheses, minus sign, underline, cancel. That's good. M squared minus m squared does in fact cancel. Again, we're going to be careful. Minus that quantity of, that parenthesis means everything inside is being subtracted. So you're really doing minus negative 7m, which again means plus 7. So if you have negative 16, you're in a hole 16 feet deep and you climb up a 7-foot ladder. Did you go deeper in the hole? Are you more negative? Did you get out of the hole? Or are you less negative than you were before? Negative 16 plus 7 puts us at negative 9m. I'm just going to grab my next color here. So negative, different sign. It's plus, minus, negative is plus. Different signs, so a negative and a positive. Difference time. Find the difference between them, 16 and 7. It's 9. Take the sign of the bigger guy. That was negative. That was positive. 16 is bigger than 7. It's going to be negative. Negative 9m. Again, counterclockwise rotation going on. Scooching the paper a bit. So we got right over here this going on. We bring down our next term, 63, and we're going to go ahead and repeat the process. So we're going to divide again. This time, negative 9m by m. In this case, you're not subtracting the 9 and the 1, the invisible 1 in here. Remember, the m's are connected by multiplication. They're going to reduce or simplify out, and we're just going to be left with negative 9. The m's are going to cross out. That -9, again, is going to line up in this last column. So this column is all constants. Here you have m to the first, m squared, m cubed, and so on. I'm going to take the -9, and it's going to multiply by the m minus 7. -9 times m is -9m. -9 times -7, negative times negative is positive, and in this case it's positive 63. Now the only time I know we're going to kind of be like, oh, cancel again. Don't call it cancel and don't just cross it out anywhere except this first step of the parentheses, minus sign, underline, cancel. Save the crossing out and ignoring for that line, and that's line only. And anywhere else, use 0. Parentheses, phrase that pays, minus sign, underline, cancel. Then what do we have? We have 63 minus positive, so just minus 63. What is 63 minus 63? 63 minus 63 is 0. This 0 down here is going to be, in fact, our remainder. Sometimes, depending on a book or depending on the teacher, we might write something like R0 for remainder 0. But we're in high school. We're in Algebra 2 at the very least, so we want to kind of write this fancy. If your remainder is 0, you really don't have to write anything up top with your answer. But if your remainder is anything but 0, what you'll do is you'll do plus, and then you'll make a little fraction. And up top, you're going to do the remainder. In this case, it's 0. Sorry, my dog is sneezing behind us. He's putting on a show. I don't know. Over m minus 7, the thing you're dividing by. All right. Sorry it's so bright, but that's -9. Remainder over. Again, I don't have to do this in this example because the remainder is 0, but next time, if the remainder is 5, you'll do plus 5 over m minus 7. Okay? When there's a remainder, it just means it doesn't divide evenly. That would mean that m minus 7 and m cubed minus that m minus 7 is not a factor of m cubed minus 6m squared minus 16m plus 63. All right, that's all that would mean over there. So that means our final answer in this problem as a quotient is m squared plus m minus 9, remainder 0, or plus 0 over m minus 7. However we want to look at that part over there. So that is your answer. Okay, so this method wouldn't be too useful, but long division works every time. And that was our quotient. And long division is quite reliable. All right, so hopefully this example is clarifying anything that you were confused on. I hope you're following along with the work on the side and the color coding is helping. And the other videos will be a little bit faster. I just wanted to make one to start a little bit more slow and detailed. All right, if you understood, thumbs up. If you don't understand and you hate this, put a thumbs down, leave me a comment, and let me know what you need. And have a nice time with all your math. Adios.